Hi guys, welcome back to Hear Me Out. I'm E.
I'm D.
And today we're going to go over season 8, episode 11 of the Real Housewives of Potomac. The title of this episode is called First Come, First Serve. Disclaimer, it was a boring episode. But hey, let us know if you thought it was fun because I was not having it. But we're going to go over the episode, give you our thoughts and opinions, and, do what we do best.
Okay, so according to Vulture, because I always have to preface this is not our opinion yet. We haven't gotten to that part. This is an article that we're recapping. So don't get mad at us for what Vulture is saying. Okay. So the dynamic between Karen and Giselle has borne such memorable fruit. Iconic moments of shade, back and forth barbs, and running bits galore have kept the Potomac viewership fed over the last few years. Their repartee is rooted in an actual history of socializing together, which gives their zingers a bit more zest than those of the cast members that came to know each other through Bravo. No matter whether they're feuding or at an uneasy detente, the tension keeps both women sharp, making them witty, absurd, and unpredictable scene partners as they switch off serving as the other's foil. As a case study in an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, it's a dream pairing, which is very interesting. This is a great season to review this dynamic between the two OG cast members. While Karen and Giselle are in a more amicable place, they are two different minds when it comes to the direction of the show. Both are attempting to control the narrative, the rest of the back half of the season, from entirely different perspectives. Karen has been trying to steer the Potomac ship back toward a standard conflict discussion resolution arc with plenty of gimmicks in between, while Giselle is attempting to establish seniority and authority by dictating who she will and won't film with. This power struggle, among other failings, has led to stilted storytelling and disjointed episodes, but it provides an interesting lens through which to view the remaining events of the season. Take Karen's big event this episode, a day trip to her lovely family estate in Surry County, Virginia, which she plans on turning into a B&B of some sort. This is what I imagine Lady Huger truly means every time she uses the word resort or spa. It is a quick trip to give Karen's business interests some shine and highlight her family roots in Virginia, but the Grand Dame also attempts to use it to engage in some good old conflict resolution. Her initial intended group, Karen, Ashley, Giselle, Wendy, and Candace, was curated with intention by her own admission. Insert complicated gimmick of her filing a bowl or filling a bowl with the name she wanted to bring, coupled with an absolutely inspired excuse of not letting the whole cast come for vague insurance liability reasons. The clear aim is to trap people who have lingering tensions on a 4-hour Sprinter van ride to Southeast Virginia. If either Candace or Wendy can make even the most marginal headway with Giselle, as a result, this cast will be making remarkable strides toward enjoyable television. Giselle, however, is uninterested in reconciliation and declines the invitation. She has laid her cards down. Being around Candace is a safety risk for her because of the dangerous things she has said in seasons past, and she feels targeted for being confronted by fans over how colorism has seeped into the show dynamics. The flashbacks continue to show the single clip of Candace letting her emotions take control and speaking really poorly on this, which wasn't even her ugliest comment to Giselle that reunion. But if the intent is to showcase sincerity in Giselle's discomfort, it truly isn't resonating. What comes through loud and clear is that Giselle has decided that she will not film with Candace outside of all cast events, and is not interested in giving her a means to continue publicly humiliating her one-on-one, closing the book on anything resembling resolution of last season's tensions, while Karen is trying her best to bring Wendy and Candace back ashore as they were meant adrift from the cast. Giselle is the immovable object, preventing them from doing so. Without Giselle and desperately needing a quota of cast members to increase the odds that this airs on television, Karen extends the invite to the whole group, claiming that her insurance liability has been magically increased. Almost all of the women decline a second round invite. Bonus points to Mia, who swoops into the group chat with, "I can't get over original invite," only to be dismissed by Karen with a breezy, "you need to." Save for Nneka, meaning that the major conflict that will be rehashed On the Grand Dame's family porch is Nneka, Wendy, and my deep sigh as we continue to circle the drain. So before we go into a little bit more about what actually happened there with Nneka and Wendy, what do we think about this first portion of what the article is saying? Because I think this is saying a lot.
I know. And I gotta agree. I think Karen is really trying hard to bring them
Yeah.
together, and Giselle is just,
Not having it.
she's infuriating at this point. I really didn't like the fact that she went over to Nneka's house and was like, well, now you need to decide if you're,
My
do you
God.
like this secondhand invite kind of thing? I'm like, this is the first time I feel this season that she's been really shady, and it's been outright. So I think there she was really trying to make a divide. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, Nneka, we just found out about Nneka the last episode. Just a little history about her. Like, why
Yeah.
are you making her decide? So I'm happy that Nneka did go. She has a
Yeah.
mind of her own. She's trying to incorporate herself into the group.
Right.
And I really did like that discussion while they were going to Surrey. She's like, well, I saw it this way. And Karen agreed. And she's like, you know what? I'll take the L for it. And
Yeah.
that's it. Like mature adults. I
Yeah.
don't understand. I think a lot of hateful things have been said, a lot of mean things, a
Yeah.
lot of things that don't make sense between Giselle and Candace. So I think it needs to come to a point where they either like forgive themselves, like each other, and like try to
Yeah.
work through it, or I don't see like the future in the show if she's starting, all these problems and she's like segregating herself. Robin
Yeah.
did too. I'm like, Robin, why didn't you just go?
Right.
Like, you know your priorities. Like, what is this last minute invite, and your nephews and your kids, and I'm like, come on, this is for the fans also. Like, why are you guys being such divas? And Mia, I kind of liked her response, but
Love it.
but again, this is for the fans also. This is not all
Yeah.
about you. What do you think?
So I feel for Karen because I think Karen and we kind of touched on it before. While we both agree that Mia's the real MVP, there's something to be said about the fact that Karen has been doing everything she can, like to
Yeah.
bring the group together, to bring some kind of and Giselle, like her response, I already told Karen what my issues are, and she's still trying to do this, like, like I don't understand. It's like,
Mm,
well, okay, maybe ask Karen, like, hey, you know how I feel about this. Why are you still trying to do this? Maybe Karen would give you some like insight. Maybe Karen will explain to you that, like, hey, we're on a show and we need to get our viewers back. And this is not helping.
yeah.
Because I think a lot of it really does come down right now to the fact that like these shows become part Karen's, part Giselle. Like, and everything cycles through them, right? Like everything is kind of like whatever's going on. Um, I think Giselle is doing more harm to the show
Ditto.
with her behavior. I understand that, she feels a certain kind of way because of the attacks that she was getting online thanks to Candace. And and that's horrible. But at the same time, Candace didn't send those people to attack her.
Mm-hmm.
Should Candace be responsible for other people's actions? No. But should Candace, as someone who is an adult and in the same industry, the same company, the same business as Giselle, the same show, should she have the maturity to tell people, don't do this on my behalf? Don't, whatever. I think so. I think in general, really, celebrities should step up, whatever your notoriety level is, but you should step up and like tell your fans or tell your people, don't do these things to someone else on my behalf. I don't want that. As far as we know, they are all very much capable of fighting their own battles. So
Yeah.
when people like online hiding behind their computers start writing comments, threatening people, they do these things because there's no consequences to them, not directly. But at
Mm-hmm.
the other end of it is a person, a real life person who can fear for their life, their safety, and in Giselle's case, the safety of her children as well. That's a very real concern. So, I'm not trying to invalidate her feelings. I think she has every right to feel that way, but I also think that the better option would be for her and Candace to come together and say, hey, we may not like each other, we may not get along, but y'all don't need to be doing this. Like
Mhm.
this ain't it. I think that would speak volumes, and that could also then maybe facilitate a truce between them.
Yeah.
They don't have to be the best of friends, but at the very least be cordial enough that you guys can like be in the same group event and interact.
Mhm.
This whole whatever, oh, I'm not filming with her, both, like, it doesn't feel right. And I think that like Bravo's going to have to do something
That's
at the end of the day. Yeah. Because it doesn't feel like right. And we know from other reality shows, you have stars who get a little bit too big in their head and decide to like act a certain way.
yeah.
I'm sorry, you will be brought down real quick, because at the end of the day, what these execs want are viewers.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Just
that's my take on it.
just to add on that, I think Giselle, and I think we've spoken about it before, Giselle can dish it, but she can't take it. Not that the fans were right in threatening her and her life and her kids and things like that, but she's dealing with this. But what happened with your allegations or your insinuations about Chris and doing this and
Yeah,
that? Well, that hurt his business because Candace said it. His
yeah,
business, his family, that added stress to them. You know, relationships, whatever happened to those relationships that they fostered. So she's also damaged or caused harm to their family.
right.
So for her to be taking it so like you know I don't want to say serious, but like serious, like,
Yeah,
oh, they only hurt me and acting like the victim. No, you did something also.
yeah,
And if you really want to be specific, you started it, Giselle, and these are the consequences to your action.
I agree.
Candace, though, should be mature enough to be like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry the fans did this. I didn't mean to, but they need to fix this because I don't like the division of the show. I still
No.
think that colorism is very present every time I see it. Like I can't unsee it, you
Yeah,
know. It
yeah,
seems like they brought Nneka in to be like, hey, the lighter complexion girls get along with the darker complexion girl, kind of thing. But you could still see the division. Nneka's just there trying to fit in, but I think that was the whole purpose of her being on the show or brought
yeah.
into the show.
Yeah. It's what it kind of, is looking like, and that's
Yeah.
unfortunate. That's,
We see the
unfortunate.
relationship with Candace, Wendy. Who else is on the show? Candace, Wendy.
Karen, Ashley.
Ashley is a free spirit. She's friends with everybody.
This
Candace
is,
back and forth. Karen is trying to be the glue. But then
yeah,
we have the other people. We have Mia, Robin, and Giselle on the other side. And Nneka by default because she's beefing with
when,
Wendy. So it still feels like a divide, whether, the arguments and racially.
yeah,
Which is
yeah.
sad.
Well, speaking of Nneka, while on the trip, Nneka does extend an olive branch, inviting everyone, including Wendy, to her new home, which the professor cattily rebuffs. The silent treatment in a sprinter van is an unbelievably immature tactic, made all the more silly by Wendy's struggle to relax on camera. It would have been more interesting for Wendy to confront Nneka on why she would invite someone whose family she claims submitted her to a shrine. That would amount to willingly inviting malevolent forces. Instead, we get a stilted exchange over reheated lunch in which Wendy begins to launch into this clearly rehearsed lecture on how she's not interested in resolving this issue with Nneka, a stance that only hurts her. For better or worse, Nneka is aiming to build all of her own relationships with the cast. Smoothing this situation over is in Wendy's best interest, as both she and Candace have lost Robin as an ally. It is certainly Wendy's right to stand firm in the position that Nneka maligned her family, but it is
Mhm.
an unproductive stance when Wendy is losing solid footing on the show. More and more of her scenes are one-offs promoting her and Eddie's rotating business interests in a continued attempt to fill out her presence in the cast, but her ventures as a serial entrepreneur are not insightful, stimulating, or rewarding. Whether or not Whether or not she realizes it, she is attempting to replicate the same tactic that Giselle is rightfully being held to task for by many viewers, refusing to engage with Nneka in hopes that with time or seniority the issue will disappear. Wendy, however, is not Giselle. Not enough relationships, storylines, or connections run through her for her to wield power in this dynamic, so she has to suck it up and film. It is a shame that instead of stepping up to the plate, we just get eye rolls, silent treatment, and intractability. Not only does it reinforce the climate of ostracism in Potomac, but it makes for a viewing experience that is about as enjoyable as getting a tattoo lasered off. The entire cast needs to accept their roles in participating in an unproductive ecosystem before they find themselves out of a job. So,
Mhm.
before we wrap it up with the cherry blossoms of the week from Vulture, what do we think about that part? Because that said a lot right there, too.
It did. I really did like, like I mentioned earlier, Nneka is trying, she has a brain of her own.
Yeah.
She's not swayed by who's friends with who. She's trying to find her footing in the show, which I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate. I did like that she extended the olive branch. She came
Yeah.
in hot, and I am a Wendy fan favorite, but,
Yeah.
I like her maturity. I don't like Wendy's immaturity. I mean, it's understandable because, you talked about my mama. Like,
Right.
there's no coming back from that. But at
Right.
the same time, again, you're on a show where you're getting paid, and this is dragging too long. And you're going
Yeah.
to lose your viewers. It's annoying at this point. I think, what you said earlier in in other videos, you want to see two Nigerian sisters hanging out and,
Yeah. Yeah.
bonding, and we probably get to learn more about their culture and
Right.
something more informative and more insightful. Like Karen is just trying every which way. She's taking
Yeah.
us to Surry County and like telling us about her family history, and she's overextending herself.
Yeah.
So, I think sometimes Wendy doesn't belong on the show. I think I've said it a lot of the times. I'm like, she's a serial entrepreneur. Nothing's working for her because you know why? This is not her realm of expertise, and she needs to give it up. This talk show thing, I don't think it's gonna work out. She should stick to what she's good at, and that's okay. She's a great CNN. Is it CNN?
Yes, I think so. A contributor.
CNN contributor. She's a professor. She has like 10,000 degrees.
Right.
Something in that realm, like right
Yeah.
now you just look flip floppy to me. Like you don't know your business footing anywhere. Or just go to Karen, go to somebody, be like, hey, how did you establish your business? Guess what? Us women of color, will get to learn about the process. Or you
Right.
going to a class. Hey, going to a class to learn about these things.
Yeah.
It seems like Happy Eddie he's already rocking and rolling with his,
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It makes her look, for somebody so smart, her business decisions or her endeavors make her look dumb. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but
Yeah.
she seems all over the place.
You know, it it's frustrating because it's like Wendy has, I think, a lot of like good qualities about her. I think she can be a very, good friend, genuine person. You see a lot of these things. She's a family woman.
Yeah.
She's so intelligent, accomplished. These are amazing attributes, amazing aspects of her. And I feel like the focus is always on these other things that are just detracting from who she
True.
is.
True.
And
True.
like when I think about her doing her candles way back, I don't know how many seasons ago when Karen was doing hers, I feel like that was something because I recall that she like went and she talked to Karen about it, and it was like a whole thing. And I was like, okay, well, she's trying something new, and she went and she talked to her. Like, that was good. I was like, okay, that was like pretty awesome. The next season she wanted to expand into like a home line, and it's like, okay, well, how are your candles doing?
Yeah.
And so, like, little by little, she's done these different things, and it's just like, okay, but like, Wendy, what are we really
Okay.
like?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are we really getting here? And not just that, but like, what are we getting storyline wise, right? Because she's been minimized a lot this season. Aside from the whole Nneka debacle, in which she only looks worse and worse as it continues, there hasn't been much more. Like, the
Yeah.
scenes that she's had, like with Eddie, feel so forced, and they're married, but they
Yeah.
feel like they're just like created so that she gets airtime, and it just doesn't like, seem like good anymore. And that's so unfortunate because, like you said, like, Wendy's a fan favorite and I've always liked her. There's moments that she's rubbed me the wrong way, but at the end of the day I still end up, liking her and rooting for her. So this is frustrating. Nneka extending the olive branch, I thought, she's doing something here, and like you said, like, we didn't know much about her. She's trying to do something, and she's thinking on her own. She's not like going off of what Giselle is saying or doing. She could have easily like not gone, but she went. She could have easily not invited Wendy, the same way Wendy at Ashley's housewarming made sure to not invite certain people, Giselle and Mia and Robin, to her I think it was her son's like confirmation or something like that. So like, Nneka is literally showing you these like opposing things where she's coming out looking better and she's doing like more, and she's getting more screen time because she went to lunch with Robin first. She went to lunch with Candace. She had Giselle over at her house. Charisse, she hangs out with Charisse outside of like, filming.
She
Um,
went to the doctor with Mia.
she went to
That's
the doctor with Mia. She went to Candace's Mother's Day brunch. Like, she's doing all these different things with all the different people in the cast despite her issues with Wendy. And
Mhm.
she still extended that olive branch to Wendy. So Wendy's behavior just, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. And I really hate that, like, it looks like she's being pushed out of the show. And so Wendy's like grasping at straws, doing the most to try and stay on. I
Yeah.
don't know that she'll be there next season. Like, it feels that kind of bad. And I hate that because I really do like her. Um, but yeah, it does seem like she's getting pushed out. I can
Ditto.
see that happening.
So maybe Bravo was also trying to replace Wendy. I mean, I don't. Yeah,
It kind
you're.
of feels that way. It kind of
Yeah.
feels that way. But the cherry blossoms from Vulture, again, guys. Every time Ray is on camera, he looks like he would rather be napping or anywhere else besides fulfilling his marital duty. Karen needs to let that old man live out his days in Florida like he said he wanted to. I forgot about that. Giselle and Ashley starting an athleisure line that they describe as Lululemon meets Savage Fenty Savage sounds like a Mad Libs headline one of those troll Bravo accounts come up with, and yet here we are looking at AliExpress best rhinestone lace and mesh activewear. Who
Well,
is the target market for this? Guys, again, this is Vulture. Latest Robin Juan misery update. They don't go to couples therapy. In fact, Juan's unemployment has somehow brought them even closer together, even if no one besides them believes that. Karen producing the saved photo that she had of the Dixon family on her phone is perhaps the most bizarre revelation we've had this season. More than likely, just a gossip related screenshot she forgot or doesn't know how to delete, but bizarre nonetheless. And finally, Nneka's house looks lovely, and we are getting more sides of her personality and sense of humor. It's unfortunate it took so long into this season to get a picture of her that is outside of the issue with Wendy. Totally agree.
and when they were discussing, towards the end of the episode, like why Wendy doesn't want to talk to her, blah, blah, blah. Nneka to me seemed very genuine. She's like, oh, you called me a bitch. And she was like, yeah, I know. Like she seemed, her demeanor was very like apologetic, like, damn, I did that kind of thing.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
was like really like receptive, trying to listen to Wendy.
yeah,
And Wendy was just shut off and she wasn't having it. So that's also something I wanted to say about Nneka. Giselle starting a clothing line with Ashley is preposterous. Like, have we seen what both of them wear? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's not gonna work. But
it's
I mean,
gonna appeal to somebody. I promise.
somebody out there.
Somebody will love it. Um,
Robin and Juan, if they like it, I love it. I don't know what's going on with them, but if it works, it works.
yeah, yeah. I I honestly, I feel like Nneka, she could have, a long relationship on the show. Like, I know you've hated her from the beginning,
Yeah,
but
but
I think she's turned a new leaf for you.
I mean, really appreciate her maturity,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
feel like it's very Karen-esque. Like she's like, "Hey, I'm just trying to get my footing." I'm sure it feels terrible to be on the outside of the group, and everybody
yeah,
has an
sure.
opinion and a personality in the
Yeah,
group. So, she's trying, and I can definitely appreciate that.
yeah.
Do I
I
like her like that? I don't know, but I don't dislike her like I did the
yeah.
past 10 episodes or 9 episodes.
She has a lot of potential, honestly. And like I
She
feel
does.
that yeah, and I feel that like I still believe like it would have been a great, opportunity to get to know a little bit more maybe of their culture or just like, just the way that they are because we're not so familiar with these things, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I believe despite the fact that like clearly they're very American, they're also very much in touch with their roots. And I love that, because we don't get a lot of that, in reality TV where people show you, some of those things. People just like to focus on whatever is more popular. But, I feel like that was one of the things that I also liked about Wendy, when she was first on was like some of the things they would show. Like I never knew like, some of the stuff that they were talking about with like the sippancy that they had for her daughter and then like the gele that I believe that's what it was called that they would give to women of like honor amongst their community. And that's another thing. Like I love how big like the community environment is like with Nigerians and a lot of different minority cultures, they have that, which we don't see often, like they always talk about Potomac, it's like this, like such affluent, like culture and neighborhood, whatever, but they don't show that. Like the most we've seen are those clips of like Nneka with Sharice, them being out in Potomac, but those are little clips. We don't get real like actual footage. Um, and it doesn't involve the rest of the cast. So it's unfortunate that like things are where they are as far as like Wendy and her behavior towards Nneka at this point.
Yeah,
Because we're 11 episodes in, halfway through the season, and this is still the issue. Like it just doesn't work anymore, I feel.
ditto. But that concludes today's episode. Guys, please let us know what you thought about this episode. Is Giselle tripping? Do we need to kick her out of the show? Is Wendy in the outs and Nneka's in the ins? Like, what do we think of Juan and Robin? I mean, it wasn't like really Juan and Robin centric episode, but
Yeah,
I mean, I guess everything that's going on with them, I guess we're shifting the storyline again to Nneka and Wendy.
yeah.
What do we think about Karen being the glue? What do we think about Mia's response to that text message, that
Mm,
thread? Let
love.
us know in the comments. But if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, please share our video. We're trying to grow our community so your friends can be our friends and we can all be friends. We also have social media, which Steve will tell you about.
We're on Instagram and TikTok at Hear Me Out DNE. So make sure you guys like, follow, share, and comment. We enjoy interacting with y'all.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.